The following is a GoPowercat.com production.
All right. You know, football, I know it's technically a fall sport, but I don't think it's ever a bad time to start talking college football, especially talking Big 12 college football. Springtime is here. Spring ball is here. Today on the Big 12 Insiders, we're going to talk the top, or basically all the quarterbacks who we think are going to be the top quarterbacks in the Big 12 conference. And, you know, at the end, we'll see who we think is best. But you know what? Like I said, it's never a bad time to start talking college football. Today, this is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Big 12 Insiders. This is your man, Brien Hanley, with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowercat. Fitz, how is it going today?
It's good. It's 77 degrees in Manhattan, Kansas.
Ooh,
right. I don't know if this is real spring or a third false spring. We've already had two, and then it got below freezing again. I'm not putting up with this, Brian. I got to talk to someone in charge.
Well, you know how I know it's spring is, and for the future, just for future reference, I have my Mets jersey on. And I can only wear the Mets jersey early because about, I don't know, in another 30 to 45 days, I'm not going to be able to wear it. We're going to be out of it. That's how you know, oh, Brian, it must be spring. Brian's got his Mets jersey on because you give it 30 days and we're going to be done and I can't wear it anymore. So brutal, just brutal. So, ugh.
I know your feelings. I can associate with them as a Royals fan.
So let's get into this today. So, you know, obviously college football, spring ball is everywhere. Some places it's already over. Some places it may be right in the middle of it, and some it just getting started. I thought today would be a good day to maybe let's talk about some of the quarterbacks in the Big 12. You know, taking a look at the list, when doing some research on this thing, Big 12's got a lot of really, really good quarterbacks, man. I think people have slept on how good the quarterbacks, and maybe everybody isn't a household name. And I think that's part of it. Some, I think, are kind of living off reputation. And we'll get into a little bit of that. But as a whole, Fitz, the Big 12's got some really good quarterbacks.
Holy crap. You know, I was like aware of it, but as I actually did homework to prepare for this show, I know that's shocking. I'm like delving down on the list, and I'm like, maybe we should just cut this to the top 10. And I'm like, there's good quarterbacks getting cut.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the show, we're going to pick our top quarterbacks. I have no idea who I'm going to pick because folks, there's about 11 or 12 schools in this conference where the fans probably think they have the best quarterback in the conference. And you're all wrong. It might be a 13th quarterback. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We've got some guys that honestly we really can't get a grasp on because they're new. They've got a history other places, but we don't really have enough on them, and maybe they'll break through. I mean, we saw a couple guys break through, including Rocco Becht at Iowa State last year, that if we'd done this previous spring, we wouldn't have probably even talked about him.
Correct.
So it's going to be fun. There are some gamers. And what I like about this group is there's only a couple traditional pocket passers, but all guys that'll get after you. They'll run the ball on you, but they're all just really good quarterbacks.
Yes, absolutely. Just like I said, doing the research and looking this up, it's sick. Whoo, boy. I mean, I like good defensive football. It's going to be tough, It's going to be tough. I know they give the Big 12, it gets a bad rap for not playing any defense when it actually does play defense. When people actually start playing outside the conference, they come to realize, yeah, they probably do play some defense because we think we do. They just have really good offenses and, more importantly, really good quarterbacks. So
a lot of quarterbacks who can extend plays.
Yes.
A lot of quarterbacks who can evade the rush, bounce off the rush in some cases.
Right.
KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas transfer at UCF, extending plays is going to be huge in this conference, and the ability to eventually let your receivers break down the defense is going to be a significant issue for defensive coordinators week in and week out.
Correct.
There's so many guys that can just do so much damage after the design of the play collapses. It's going to be fun football.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's dig in here a little bit. So, first off, now we're just going with this is not the ranking. I want to make this very clear to everybody right off the top. We are not ranking these quarterbacks. We had to have some sort of list. We just put a list together, and this is the names, and this is the order that we came up with. So, before anybody goes jumping off the deep end, we're not ranking these guys currently. Yeah. This is just the list. So,
we're starting.
First off, Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Look, extremely talented, Fitz. His problem has been the injury bug. He cannot stay on the field. I think it may have cost Kansas last year alone probably 2 more wins. I think easily 2 more wins that they would have gotten if he's on the field. He's got to be able to stay on the field to reach this potential that people keep talking about. And we've seen him have tremendous success, but he's got to be on the field to be able to do that.
Yeah. Look, I love this guy. I think he's a dynamic quarterback. He's a lot of fun to watch. Again, he's the epitome of a quarterback that does things after a play breaks down.
Yes.
But his back is broken down. And so to rank him in the top quarterbacks in this conference, honestly, I'm going to need to see him play.
Correct.
I hope he can play because this K-State dynamic we're in the middle of as guys that cover this area of the conference is going to be really fun if he's playing. Not to say they're backup. I mean, They brought in their 3rd stringer last year. He's pretty good. But Jalen Daniels is a whole different cat. And if they can keep him healthy, Kansas is going to be a legitimate contender to win this conference.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But that asterisk's big if you can keep him healthy.
That's the thing. If you can keep him healthy, I mean, we'll get into all that prediction stuff at a later time, but Kansas is going to have a really good football team this year. And if he's healthy, if he can be healthy, look out. That's all I'm going to say. Just look out. Now the next, and you just told me the pronunciation of his name, and I already forgot it.
Noah Fafita.
Noah Fafita. And I don't even know if that's right. Hopefully it is. I don't want to disrespect anybody. Look, he is a football player. I don't know that anybody came on stronger than he did last year at Arizona. I don't even think anybody knew his name. And then next thing you know, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, taking the Pac-12 by storm. This guy can play some football, Fitz.
He might be the best in the conference. He was a freshman. I mean, he's a young dude. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. He hasn't even learned everything yet.
Nope.
More of a pocket passer, but he zips it all over the field. Love this guy.
Yeah.
Now the question becomes if there's any kind of dynamic pass rush. It looks like he evades rush really well. But he's a guy that I want to see in the new setting. And the only reason I say that isn't a disparaging comment to the Pac-12, which was a really good football conference. Every conference has their nuances and how they play the game and what they do. And maybe he fit what the Pac-12 defenses were doing and maybe doesn't with the Big 12. Being a young quarterback and not have seen that much, but he's going to make Arizona a problem for everyone in this conference.
Yeah, I think look, we can get into ranking and we'll do that like we talked about later. But if we're just looking and base it off what we have actually seen on the football field, I don't see how anybody wouldn't have him in a top 3, not just in the conference, maybe in the country. This guy is the real deal. He can do a lot. So I'm not saying that. And again, rankings are different than what NFL draft boards are going to tell you. College football is totally different. So when you have a guy that we think is good in college football, don't let that distract you from what scouts might be saying, how it translates to the next level. We're not talking about the next level. We're just talking about college football.
Right.
Having said that, it comes to the next one, Shedeur Sanders. Look, we saw him last year. We saw him play. He burst on the scene. A lot of people don't like him because of his bravado. But when you just sit down and look at him play football, the kid can play some football.
Oh, absolutely.
You may not like anything else about him, but he doesn't have a cannon arm, but he can make every throw. He has an outstanding participation. And the one thing we know about Shedeur Sanders, if you paid any attention to Colorado last year, he can take a beating because that was some of the worst offensive line play that I think I've ever seen at this level of football. And he basically made it through the season playing behind that line. So I give him all the credit, but I think he's really, really good. And with the better O-line, I mean, he might be even better, Fitz.
That's my question with him. How much protection is he going to have from that offensive line?
Yeah.
Because it was dreadful. Oh, God. If there's one quarterback equipped to evade a rush and run for his life, it's Shedeur Sanders, because that's about all he did last season. His highlights are hysterical.
Yes.
There's like 1 out of 10 that might be a clean pocket for him to use. It's ridiculous, but he rolls out, he can run, he can throw it on the move. He's a wildly talented. I don't care about his off-field stuff. I care about on-field stuff.
Correct.
And on-field, again, another quarterback that's going to be a problem, particularly, as you said, if Colorado can improve its offensive line play. Just a dynamic player. And if you'd like him to attend a press conference, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. I love it.
When did we get to that? It was like, what? You got to pay to interview him. Okay.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's the new age that we live in. It's just unbelievable. But on the field, I like him. I think he's really, really good. And he's proven to be really, really good. Give him some time. You know, he's got some weapons out there, but if he's given some time, I'm interested to see exactly how good he can be behind just a functioning offensive line. It doesn't have to be great, just functioning, and we'll see what happens. Cam Rising missed all of last year. Now I'm on record, and I'll continue to be on record, Fitz. I don't like giving guys 6th, 7th years of guys playing college football. I'm out on that. But he's got a 7th year. He's here. He's going to play. So it is what it is. And he's really good. I mean, the year before and even the previous year before that, he was really good. I mean, Utah was really good. And he was a big reason why they were. Coming back off the knee injury, we will see. I mean, those things are always tricky. I think the knee injury was a little more than what they were telling us, because with an ACL, I think he could have come back and played last year. I think there was a lot more damage in that knee than what we knew, than what the public knew. But that's okay. But him coming back, I mean, he's very, very good quarterback, Fitz.
He's outstanding. Just when he's healthy, and there we go. You started off with the same thing as Jalen Daniels. How's he going to respond to this? Is he going to be as mobile? Will he be able to throw with the same velocity? Because a lot of passing is your legs. So I'm intrigued to see how he comes out in the early season, the non-conference schedule, and performs. And if he looks good, watch out, Big 12. This kid might be the best quarterback in college football this season if he's healthy.
Correct.
And again, we've got this huge asterisk around him, but watching his highlights is a lot of fun. This dude can wing it. He's a dynamic guy. He'll tuck it and run. I love him. I don't care that he's a member of AARP. He's going to be a very good college football player, even if he's on his 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th year. I don't even know. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like Cam Rising. I think he's going to do well in the conference. He did well in the Pac-12. Utah is going to be a very, very competitive team, if not the overall favorite, which I think a lot of people think they are, and he's going to be a big reason why. The next guy, Fitz, if I say Garrett Green, I would bet you 85% of the audience has no idea who he plays for. No clue. Yeah. And he came on like gangbusters last year at West Virginia and had a really good season. And in turn, West Virginia had a really good season. Yeah. There was a lot of question on whether their coach was even going to be around. And yet he was around. And the next thing you know, they're winning 9 football games out of nowhere. And this kid came out of nowhere and played really good football last year.
Well, I was familiar with him because Kansas State 2 seasons ago went to West Virginia late in the year, and that's who played. They put him in, and everyone in the press box on the West Virginia side was like, oh, boy. You know what I saw immediately? I saw a warrior. There's 2 dudes, him and Rocco Becht in this conference, who I would follow into the zombie apocalypse. I mean, they're absolute warriors, and they just make it happen. They put their nose in there. They need a big throw. May not be a conventional throw. May not look like a typical quarterback. If you like a pocket passer, you're not going to really like these guys because they're going to run around and they're going to just make something happen, and they're going to bleed doing it.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful. It's
Yes.
amazing. I'm a big fan of this kid. Green just goes out there and plays his butt off.
He does. He absolutely does. And, I think he's kind of reflection, just kind of what you said, of the fan base there and the team there. He just goes out, plays it as hard as he possibly can on every single snap, leaves it all out there. Last year, the results were good. I can't imagine why the results won't be just as good. Now, their schedule kind of flips on them a little bit, so we'll see. But I think West Virginia, again, I think they can have another successful season. I think he can be really good again for the Mountaineers. KJ Jefferson, transfer from Arkansas. Now, when I talked about reputation, this is kind of what I meant. Now, I'm not trying to diminish and say he's not very good, but it was 2 years ago that he was very good. Last year, not so good at Arkansas. 2 years ago, yeah, he was really good. So, and he transfers to UCF. I don't know. I mean, it's a mixed bag. I know he fits into their offense perfectly. I mean, it can't be a better marriage as far as the offense is concerned, but we'll see. Obviously, there's some growing pains that have to come into place there. But if he gets back to the form that he was 2 years ago, Fitz, this is a guy that can compete for the top quarterback spot in this conference.
My favorite highlight of him I saw was him standing in the pocket. A safety, I think, or an undersized linebacker gets a free shot at him and bounces off of him.
Yes.
This is a thick kid.
Yeah.
And he's not real mobile. His throwing motion is kind of elongated and slow, but he can zip it. I'm really fascinated to see how he functions in the Big 12, what he does for UCF, because he's probably, of the quarterbacks we're evaluating here, the most unpredictable, because exactly what you just said about his last 2 seasons. He's a roller coaster.
Correct.
And will this be the high version of him or the crashing to the earth version of him? We'll probably find out fairly easily or fairly soon. And what's my biggest issue is their quarterbacks this past season for the Knights were mobile. If something broke down, they could get out and move around.
Right.
He's not that guy.
No, he's different. He's different than that. And it's not that he can't run, but he's not the most mobile guy out there. That's kind of not his game. So, but if he, like I said, he was also a little banged up about the middle of the season last year. They took some games away, and he played a couple of games hurt. But like I said, if he can get back to what he was 2 years ago, basically in 2022, then UCF has found something here. Next up, Avery Johnson. Look, we saw what Avery Johnson could do, against that Texas Tech game. I mean, we saw it on full display. But as K-State fans, some K-State fans kind of were frustrated because it didn't seem like he was unleashed. Like you didn't get to see the whole package.
Right.
Because he's a quarterback. All people thought that all he could do was run. Well, if you remember, he won the Elite 11 camp, and you're not winning that by just being a running quarterback that going out there and running for touchdowns. Yeah. You got to be able to throw the football and throw it accurately. And he did. And he can. I think they think that he's going to be good, Fitz, but I don't think people understand how good Avery Johnson is going to be.
Yeah, to step in and run for 5 touchdowns in your first extended play as a true freshman that he did at Tech, not only was kind of a breakout performance that caught everyone's attention, but it also deceived them into thinking he's just a running quarterback.
Correct.
He's not. I mean, look, this is the school I cover, so I'm naturally going to be biased in the manner that I have a lot more information here. Going to practice and watching him wing the ball, people are going to be shocked. This kid's got an arm. He's incredibly accurate. My gut tells me, and look, Vegas is in on this. I've seen the odds for the Heisman where he's, one of, if not the highest or best odds in the Big 12 to win the Heisman. He's not going to do that, I don't think. But he's special. But we haven't seen him live fire in the Big 12 over an extended period of time. Now, the reason we didn't see him do much in the bowl game was he was really the only quarterback prepared to play, and they couldn't do much with him to protect him. They did not want him to get dinged up, so they kind of cut down on his passes. They cut down on the quarterback run game. How much will they lean into that? They feel pretty good about the backup, but Avery's a undersized, slightly quarterback, although he's put on some weight. And I think his ability to get up off the ground is going to be a big measurement of his success.
Gotcha. One last one before we take our first break here. Rocco Beck from Iowa State. Look, he had a decent year last year, and better than a decent year. He had a good year last year. But for me, Fitz, I respect him more for the circumstances that he had to come into and play, because he wasn't going to be the starter last year. That wasn't his job. But he was thrust into the starting role basically right before the season started. And it took him a minute. And Iowa State. I think Iowa State just got punched in the mouth at the beginning of the season based on the gambling scandal. And They couldn't find their way for a minute. And they eventually did. And they kicked it into gear. And they were able to salvage out a decent year. And this kid figured out how to play quarterback in the Big 12. Again, being thrust into a situation that he didn't know that he was going to be in. Now, granted, backup quarterbacks, guys can get hurt. They're supposed to be ready. This was just a different circumstance, Fitz, and I thought he played well.
Very admirable. I mean, what a mess that was. And now we're hearing that whole mess might be thrown out of court because of how the information was collected.
Correct.
Oh, the whole thing's ugly. But he, again, was a warrior. As I've said, he got out there and he'll put his nose in everyone's business. If you want to know the importance of having a strong leader at quarterback, a guy who's going to step up and make the play even when the odds are against him, look at Iowa State's last 2 seasons.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
Rocco, look, this kid, my goodness, he's still got so much to learn too. I'm really interested to see what Iowa State does with him because plus I'm kind of, I kind of like his quarterback coach. Jake Waters, former K-Staters up there now. It's going to be fun. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think they've got something. Like I said, Iowa State, the beginning of the year was just not good for them. They go to Ohio and get beat. Iowa State was better than that. But like I said, I think they were just reeling, and quarterback was just trying to figure out his way because they didn't go up there. They didn't score many points up there. It was a disaster, but they figured it out, and they ended their season very, very well. I think it's only going to get better from here on up for him. We're going to take one quick break here. Be back on the other side of this break, and we will discuss the other quarterbacks in the conference, good, bad, all the ugly. And then at the end, again, we will come back and we will have who we think our top 3 Big 12 conference quarterbacks are. But first, a word from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Partners.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the mission is to change the way Americans plan for their financial future. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowercat. So let's continue on. So Daquan Finn from Baylor, is he going to be the starter?
Oh, yeah. Did you watch his highlights?
I did. I sure did.
Holy crap. If they can get him to cut down on his interceptions and issues in throwing the ball, honestly, look, they're highlight reels, so you see the good stuff.
Right.
If the K-Staters are out there listening, this kid reminded me of L. Roberson an awful lot.
Yeah.
Really athletic at the quarterback position. Kind of a gunslinger. Will throw it into trouble, and it often comes back to bite him. If they can contain that and still let him be creative in the quarterback position, I'm going to say something maybe outlandish here. This guy might be the best quarterback in the Big 12. If they can refine him, he is a blast to watch. And that's what I keep coming back to with all these quarterbacks. Oh, he's fun to watch. Oh, he's fun. These quarterbacks are all just great entertainment along with pretty darn good football players.
Yeah, I saw that highlight tape that you were talking about, Fitz, and he's spectacular. You're exactly right. The L. Roberson comparison is spot on. But you're right. Takes a lot of chances. Thinks, and that's kind of the thing when you're unrefined, is that you think that your arm can do everything.
Yep.
And you throw the ball into places that you shouldn't throw, but you know what? My arm's so strong, I can get it there. And you get to big-time college football, and now he's transferring up even another level. We're going to see what happens. So, but if, like you said, first of all, Baylor needs it. They need a shot in the arm here. Dave Aranda, they need a shot in the arm right here. I think they couldn't have done better to get this kid on their campus, on their squad, get him out there, because they need something to happen, because Baylor, it hadn't gone well the last couple of seasons. So hasn't gone well. Baylor fans are not happy about it. Hopefully they can turn it around with him under center this year.
Look, I know he came out of the MAC. But some of those highlights were against Ohio State.
Correct.
And they're absolutely collapsing his cover or his protection, and he's evading it and getting upfield.
Yep.
You probably want to spy him, because they weren't, and they paid for it at times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's going to be a difference maker for them. And especially getting him using him the right way. I think, like I said, if Baylor can figure a couple of other things out, I think they've solved that. Not that quarterback was necessarily their only issue or even an issue, but you know what? If you can upgrade, you can upgrade. Clearly they want to go in a different direction. So good for them. Baron Morton from Texas Tech. Kind of a mixed bag to me.
Yeah.
Kind of a mixed bag. You saw some really good games, but you saw some that were bad games. Tell me what you think. What are your thoughts on him? Because it seemed like he got better, just like most young quarterbacks got better as the season went on. But going with the spring under his belt and then another year, I think Tech may have got some. It seems like Tech just revolving door at quarterback, but they keep producing decent ones.
Yeah. Luckily, they moved on from Shuck at quarterback, and he's transferred out. That guy couldn't stay healthy, and he was more of a distraction for them than anything. They'd put the eggs in his basket, and his basket would break.
Correct.
I like Morton quite a bit. We saw him, he was at quarterback in that Avery Johnson game, but he's young, and the best thing a young quarterback can get with obvious talent, because he has that, is just to get out there and play.
Correct.
And he'll continue to get better. I would not probably put him in the top 10 in this conference, and that isn't an insult. Right. That's how good the quarterbacks are.
Correct. Absolutely. Moving on, the next one, Donovan Smith. I think he's a little underrated, one of the most underrated guys, just because people just maybe don't know about him. He's at Houston. Look, Dana Holgorsen, and all intents and purposes, he had checked out last year. Right. He checked out. I think everybody knew that, and he's gone. Willie Fritz, on the other hand, he's not going to check out. I don't care what's going on. That coach is not checking out on anything. Not only that, he's going to hold everybody accountable. Donovan Smith won't have, if he's the quarterback, which he will be because he's extremely talented, he's going to hold everybody accountable. Yep. He's going to make you get better. Even if you don't want to get better, just being out there, he's going to make you get better. I think Donovan Smith has an opportunity to have a really good season.
He does. And also I trust that Willie Fritz's early recruiting will bring in more talent around him. The scheme will be better, but you nailed it, Big B. He is going to make him a better quarterback, and it won't be a comfortable process for the young man. He has been like a tease. You'll see things from him and you go, oh my goodness, this kid is special. And then he just doesn't win games and he makes mistakes.
Yep.
So again, another quarterback with some editing could be a beautiful thing to watch. He would probably crack my top 10, but barely. And again, only because there's so many good quarterbacks in this league.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing. He was a transfer from Texas Tech. And in my opinion, I thought he was the most talented guy there.
Yeah.
And then he left. And I don't know I'd heard some things about all of that on what happened there, but I thought he was the most talented quarterback that they had on the roster. And then he left. He's at Houston. I don't know how many games Houston's going to win this year, just for the simple fact that the talent level isn't where it needs to be. But in 2 years, it's going to be there because their head coach is going to he's going to get the guys in, and the attitude, the whole culture around Houston is going to change. So it'll be a welcome upgrade for Donovan Smith. He couldn't have asked for a better head coach to help him develop.
No, absolutely not.
Alan Bowman, another of our 7th-year AARP quarterbacks coming back. Another one that a lot of people didn't think was great. I I wouldn't put him in my top 10 on this list in this conference either. I think he had a decent year last year, but they are a running team, and they ran the ball extensively. But he had a pretty good year. I mean, they were in the conference championship game, and it wasn't because he was playing bad, Fitz. He had a decent year.
Well, he strung together a series of really, solid performances with beating K-State, KU, and Oklahoma.
Yep.
And that was really the key to the success of the program, because not only did they get some key wins, they won every tiebreaker that could be on the table, basically.
Correct.
And so there's a veteran leadership quality there that's hard to measure. I'm really happy for the young man that he finally found success at the college level, because he's bounced around.
Right.
He's struggled to find his niche, and he's found it. But also he found it in part because he's got a veteran coaching staff that's pretty damn smart. And
yes.
Oh yeah, Ollie Gordon makes every quarterback look good because he takes so much damn pressure off you. Again, I agree with you. He wouldn't be in my top 10, but scoreboard, baby, he was in the Big 12 title game, so that says a lot.
Was. And not to mention, he had to go through a quarterback battle last year into the season to even get the job. He wasn't solidified as the starter. I think it wasn't until week 3. I think, they were playing not just 2 quarterbacks last year. They were playing 3 quarterbacks last year to try to figure it out. And he did. And like you said, he ended up in the Big 12 championship game. So we can be as mad as we want or say it wasn't a great season because he threw 14 interceptions, but he was in the conference championship either way. So Josh Hoover at TCU, another young guy, that didn't necessarily start the year. And not necessarily, he didn't start the year as a starter, came on late. I think a lot of TCU fans think that he was the more talented guy anyway. And now he's got the reins. I look for something big because TCU's got to have a big bounce back year. They got a lot of talent there. We always know TCU's going to have a lot of talent. So I think we're looking for a big bounce back year from the quarterback position from them.
Yeah. They've been searching for their next guy. And I think they might have him. I need to be sold a little bit more.
Correct.
Another guy that's he's got a huge upside, but I probably wouldn't park him in my top 10. It sounds like I've got about 12 quarterbacks out of 16 not in my top 10, but that's not the way it works. He's a very good quarterback. Let's see what he does this season, because that's a good coaching staff. They're not going to mess around. And another thing, if they're not getting it done at quarterback, they'll go to someone else. They've done that the last few years, and it's paid off.
Yep, absolutely. They won't wait. They've got guys on the roster. The thing about TCU, they trust their system, and they believe their system is right. I respect coaches that do that. I love that because they're saying, no, the system's fine. We just need to get a different player in there, and I think a lot of times that coaching staffs want to change everything that they do, and maybe it works out, but more times than not, it does not. Their system is a system. You got the job because of that. Continue to run it. Just get the right players in there. TCU does a great job in that. So then we got Jaden Rashada. He's kind of a mixed bag here because he was the guy that went to Florida. NIL all of a sudden falls through. Florida promised him this. All of a sudden says no. Then he says, well, okay, well, goodbye. And then goes and signs somewhere else, wins the starting job as a freshman, starts, plays okay, and then he gets hurt. And then he's out the rest of the season. So, the talent is there, but I don't think we really know anything about this guy yet, Fitz, do we?
No, we don't. Yeah. He's really hard to figure out. I don't know. I'm just not, he's an unknown. And that doesn't mean he's not good.
Correct.
I got to see him in this setting to see what I believe. I'm just not there on him. But that doesn't mean I'm right. I certainly I kind of a lack of information here makes me struggle with a fair evaluation of him.
Yeah. And then that's the whole thing, is that we just don't know because we didn't see enough of him. Look, he was a true freshman last year. He came in, whatever you believe happened with the NIL, whatever. But the bottom line is, I know he came in and he earned a starting job. That part we do know. So he was good enough to start. And I'm not saying that Arizona State was the greatest football team last year, but they were competitive. They lost a lot of games, but they were in some games as well. But he won the job. So I think if he can come in, first of all, he's got to stay healthy. That would be number one. But if he can come in and go compete, I like Arizona State's coach. I really do.
Too.
But it's almost, because they're a transfer-heavy team. They believe in the transfer portal just about as anybody. People think that Colorado lives in it. Arizona State lives in it as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, I don't think we know enough yet to even really give a ranking of any kind.
No, and the whole quarterback position there, it's been in flux since Dillingham arrived, and they just, because of injuries and other things, they can't get settled at all. And again, because they're transfer heavy, it's hard to assess what he'll be working with.
Right.
Arizona State is probably the biggest unknown going into the new 12. They struggled this year. They weren't very good. They've had a lot of distractions, everything going on. I think they could be eventually a really good component to the Big 12 football landscape, but right now they're not.
Correct. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It was a struggle. But they can get better. Like I said, just transfer portal, flip a switch. I know we've talked about it before. April 15th is coming. Who knows? So who knows? Next, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. Wasn't the starter last year. Coming in, this is one of the few Fitz that's not returning. Cincinnati's not returning their quarterbacks. One of the few teams in the Big 12. Don't really know much about them. Look, Cincinnati didn't get a lot of great play out of their quarterback last year. Avery Johnson, he was okay, but just so inconsistent. And they need more out of their quarterback position. They're a zone running team, but the play action is where their quarterback makes their hay. So and the thing about that, guy's got to be accurate. Emory Jones wasn't accurate. That was his problem. I don't know a ton about Brendan Sorsby. So if he's accurate and can, like I said, if they can run the football, I think he's going to have a better chance to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. This is another program that has to get settled at quarterback, whether it's him or someone else. They got to get the right guy in there that can get something done. It's rare to be average at quarterback and good as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State accomplished that. But this is a program that desperately needs a jolt from its quarterback position and a true leader. We just covered in the previous portion of the podcast, Iowa State and West Virginia, who went into the season looking like they had unproven quarterbacks, and they found absolute leader warriors. And so if Cincinnati can pull that trick with someone, then they're going to be in much better shape than they have been.
Correct. And then lastly, I don't know if this guy's going to actually be the starter here, Fitz, at BYU. So Jake, and I believe it's pronounced Ritzloff, and if I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize.
Right.
I think Gary Bohannon may actually beat him out. That's who I think is actually going to win this job. So, I don't know. I know they're in a spring battle. We'll see what happens. I think Bohannon, with his experience and what he's done, I think he's going to be the guy that actually wins the job.
Yeah, I do too, because of his upside.
Yes.
The upside is massive.
Yes.
We saw him at Baylor do some unbelievable things.
Yep.
Then it fell through. He got too much, he got competition. I think they chose poorly. But then again, there might have been stuff going on behind the scenes that I don't know about.
Right.
Thank you, Cornelio. Much appreciated. We'll get to that in just a second. I think he could be a dynamic quarterback for the Cougars, something they did not have, something they need. I would bet on him too to be the quarterback. And if he's not, well, maybe the other guy's that good. Look, can he step into most Big 12 schools and start? No, he can't. But he can there, and he can be a really good quarterback for them. And again, you plop a quarterback down in a different system, Big B, you don't know what you're going to get.
Correct.
It might be the greatest thing to happen to him or the worst thing to happen to him. So we'll just have to see it to believe it with his presence at BYU.
Yeah, and I think him bringing the dynamic that he brings to the table, I think it's something that BYU actually needs. And I think BYU is going to have a better year this year They need to have a better year this year. They're in the conference. Look, BYU has been known to have really good football teams. It has been great the last few years. I think they wanted to be in a conference. Now they're in a big-time conference. I think they take a step forward, but they got to get this quarterback position solidified. Look, nobody's any good if you don't have a decent quarterback. There's no such thing as having a decent football team if your quarterback's below average. It just doesn't happen unless you're the 2000 Ravens, which I don't think anybody's going to mistake any team in the Big 12 for that. So,
no.
Cornelio, yeah, let's bring him in his question here. It was a super chat, so we appreciate it. So it says, I know we need to see Avery perform, but is there a game we'll go into this fall where the QB matchup nod would go to our opponent? Maybe for Arizona.
Yeah.
Colorado. Look, we'll see.
If you follow along at our GoPowercat channel, and you know how I rave about Avery and where he's at, but the bottom line is, let's see it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see it applied over the course of a season. I think Arizona's going to come in with the quarterback advantage, at least from the known.
Correct.
Because Fafita can play.
Correct.
Again, Colorado with Sanders, maybe them. Cornelio, there are going to be plenty of games. I'm going to say it. Be pissed off if you want to. But if Jalen Daniels is healthy, it might be that game too.
Correct.
Because I think he's that good.
Yep.
But, it's the unknowns on him and Avery that stop me from putting them in my top three. Daniels and Avery aren't in my top three. And that's a teaser. That's a teaser.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Look, we love Avery. If you're a K-State fan, you're going to love the guy. You love what he can bring to the table. We've seen glimpses, but we haven't seen it for a full game. Like, he hasn't. I mean, just think about that. He hasn't just started the game and finished the game as a starter at at Kansas State University. He's never done that. So let's just see that first before we say he's the next Joe Montana. I think people put these expectations a lot of times because of glimpses that they've seen. You know how many quarterbacks or just players in general in any sport that we've seen a glimpse of them, and then when, the lights shine the brightest, can't really do the job. Now, I don't believe that's Avery Johnson at all. So I don't want to panic anybody. I think when the lights shine the brightest is when he shines the brightest. But we still have to actually see it. We've got to actually see it. So we'll take one last break here, and we'll come back. We'll give you the top three quarterbacks for each of us that are in the Big 12. Again, one word from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Partners, and we'll be right back.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the vision is to build the world's largest consumer financial education and empowerment company. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders with Brien Hanley and Tim Fitzgerald. So Fitz, we broke down the quarterbacks, what we see, and there was a lot of there's a few teams out there that maybe don't know, haven't seen what their quarterback's going to be. We have an idea, but we just don't know, and that's kind of what I like. Is the season, everything will play out once the lights turn on, and we'll get to see all of that. So having said that, we talked about the top three. Who are your top three quarterbacks in the Big 12 Conference for 2024?
First, I think this conference really needs to embrace its dynamic play at quarterback and really advertise that because it's going to be a blast. Big 12 football is always fun because it's so competitive. It's great if you're a sports bettor, or maybe it's horrible because it's so unpredictable. But these quarterbacks are going to be game changers.
Yes.
And again, like I said, I left off the two quarterbacks from the state in which I live for separate reasons. I got to see how he comes back from a lingering injury in Daniels, and I got to see it over the course of a season in the case of Johnson. I'm going to start my top three with Shedeur Sanders simply because if he gets better line play, he's going to be really good. Because almost all of his problems last year were related to crappy line play. He was running for his life. At number 2, I'm going to put Cam Rising only because of that knee.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly the number 1 if he's healthy. For me, I love that dude. Again, a warrior, but also can chuck it around the field. Oh, just fun. Let me see that knee. And I'm going Noah Fafita as my number 1 guy just because look what he did early in his career. He's going to get better.
Yes.
And that should be terrifying. Yeah, I think he's really special. Yeah, I just picked quarterbacks from 3 of the new teams. That isn't sucking up to them. I really love what they bring to the table.
Yeah, and it's weird that you said that because I literally have the same 3 quarterbacks just in a different order. Just in a different order. Because I've got Cam Rising at number 3, I've got Fafita at 2, and I've got Shadir Sanders at 1. I like all 3 of them. Really good quarterbacks, poised. Knows the thing about it is they know where to go with the football, and they can get it there.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with Sanders, and like we said, we talked about it. His line was just terrible. But when they actually gave him a little bit of time to do things, you saw what he could do. He's picking defenses apart. He's just absolutely shredding them up. Same with the other 2 guys, but they have better they both have better football teams than what Colorado do.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see with Arizona how that all plays out with the new coaching staff. I think Utah is the stability. Is just been rock solid. I think they're going to be really good again, but those are the 2 top 3 quarterbacks that I have. Anything else? And as far as final words, Fitz, about the quarterback play, I appreciate how you talked and you broke down how everyone should embrace how good the quarterbacks are in this league.
It's really something that fans need to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Just shoving it in people's. No conference is going to have quarterbacks this dynamic.
No,
it's going to be a blast from start to finish. And I can guarantee you one thing about all this in-depth listing and discussion of quarterbacks. When we get to the end of the season, the top 3, they won't be it. The ones we just picked. That's the one thing I'm confident about. It could be totally different dudes. That's how many good and promising the upside on so many of these quarterbacks, including Avery Johnson and Jalen Daniels and other people. If they work through whatever their issues are, oh boy.
Right. Absolutely.
Brian, I'm fired up for football.
Yeah, I am too. I'm ready for football to be here.
This got me going, man. Really watching all this film, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I would just like to send my condolences out to the defensive coordinators in the conference. Have fun, boys.
Yeah, it's going to be, you know what? We like defensive football, but at the same time, it's just, how do you keep up? Especially with the way certain rules are these days. It's like, what do you do? What are you going to do? But I think for your team, and not you, Fitz, I'm just talking about people in general, the team that you're rooting for, your quarterback out there, if you've got a dynamic guy, look, college football is not professional football. I think you've got a guy that can run around and make plays. In the NFL, yeah, they have a lot of those guys, but you can get by with guys that are in the pocket, not very mobile, but know how to manipulate the pocket a little bit. In college, I think you have to have a guy that can run around and go make plays when things break down. I think that's almost a necessity to be able to compete. And the Big 12's got a lot of those. Cannot wait for it to get started. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Again, as always, like, follow, subscribe,
please
send those comments, hit the notification bell. And remember, we're almost to 500. I think we're almost to 500 subscribers. So we got to get to 1,000 on Big 12 Insiders on YouTube. So please go over there, subscribe, all that good stuff so we can get everything moved over there as soon as possible. The goal, I think, Fitz, is try to get it all over there by the beginning of the season, isn't it?
Yep.
Or by the summer. So
yeah, sometime we need to get it over there. I just want to be really transparent. ACC, we need you to break up. Okay. It'll be good for us. It'll really grow the show, grow the channel.
Yeah.
So quit being selfish and your history, whatever.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah. So, in all seriousness, we appreciate everyone's support. We do need to continue to grow the channel. We are going to migrate it over. This show deserves its own platform, and we're going to get it there.
Absolutely. So appreciate everybody. We will be back Monday. It'll probably be 2:30 maybe on Monday, won't it, Fitz? Or we'll see. But we'll do something. We'll have something on Monday for sure for you guys. But always Tuesday through Friday at 1 p.m. So We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.